Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Religious Education Initiative. This is day 3 of week 22. We're reading Luke chapter 8, verses 40 through 56. Now, last week, we read about Jesus and the disciples crossing the lake and how the Lord delivered the man who had been possessed by many demons, and how after he had done this, they crossed back over the lake to where they had begun. Now let's see what happens next. It says, "Now when Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. Just then there came a man named Jairus, a leader of the synagogue. He fell at Jesus' feet and begged him to come to his house. For he had an only daughter, about 12 years old, who was dying. As he went, the crowds pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years, and though she had spent all she had on physicians, no one could cure her. She came up behind him and touched the fringe of his clothes, and immediately her hemorrhage stopped. Then Jesus asked, 'Who touched me?' When all denied it, Peter said, 'Master, the crowds surround you and press in on you.' But Jesus said, 'Someone touched me, for I noticed that power had gone out from me.' When the woman saw that she could not remain hidden, she came trembling, and falling down before him, she declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him, and how she had been immediately healed. He said to her, 'Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace.' While he was still speaking, someone came from the leader's house to say, 'Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher any longer.' When Jesus heard this, he replied, 'Do not fear, only believe, and she will be saved.' When he came to the house, he did not allow anyone to enter with him except Peter, James, and John, and the child's father and mother. They were all weeping and wailing for her, but he said, 'Do not weep, for she is not dead, but sleeping.' And they laughed at him, knowing that she was dead. But he took her by the hand and called out, 'Child, get up.' Her spirit returned, and she got up at once. Then he directed them to give her something to eat. Her parents were astounded, but he ordered them to tell no one what had happened." This is a beautiful story. Both of these events, both of these healings, the woman with the flow of blood and this little 12-year-old girl, and the compassion and the love, the gentleness that Jesus shows, both to the woman and to the parents there. It is a beautiful, a comforting experience and revelation of the Lord's nature, of his love for us, of his compassion for us in the face of suffering, in the face of loss, in the face of death. There are a lot of questions that could be raised too, but we don't probably have time to talk about all of them. I want to discuss here the question of faith, of trust, of belief, because these are all words that we tend to use in the religious life, in Christianity, and perhaps we understand them better, perhaps we understand them worse. When Jesus says to the woman, "Your faith has saved you," when he says to the parents, "Do not be afraid, only believe," these are two different words in English, but they're the same word in the original, in the Greek. He says, and I suggest for the sake of our understanding, for the sake of the argument at the very least, let's consider them in a different light, using a third word for both of them. So when the woman says, when the woman is healed and he says, "Your faith has saved you," let us say instead, "Your trust has saved you. Go in peace." And when the little girl is dead and Jesus says to her parents, "All will be well, only trust and you will see." In both cases, what he is saying is not then that the woman who is healed has some sort of vague intellectual opinion, that she holds to some certain set of beliefs that we tend to sort of wrap up in this idea of faith. What he's saying is, you have seen me and you have trusted that in me there is to be found healing. And because you have done so, you came and you reached out your hand with the purpose and intent to receive the grace that you believe, that you trust you will find from me. This is the right way to come to me. Therefore you have received what you sought. And when he speaks to the parents who are in grief and in shock and in horror and in confusion, and he says, all will be well, only trust me. He is urging them to this same relationship. And this is the point we must understand. For Christian people, faith is not fundamentally a question of what intellectual opinions we hold about God, what we believe, nor is it even a matter of really pushing ourselves to believe, to have faith that God will take care of everything, which is really just a different way of saying the belief thing. It's a matter of trust. It's a matter of seeing that the Lord is with us, seeing that he loves us, and accepting our need for his love, for his grace, for his mercy, and approaching him with repentance, with humility, with a consciousness of our need and a confidence of his mercy and his love. If we approach him in this relationship, laying aside everything else and holding fast to him, we will not be left without help. This is what this woman finds. This is what these parents find in the story that we read today. And therefore, the story is not just a beautiful depiction of the Lord's love for us. It is also a beautiful depiction of an example, I should say, of what our relationship with God should look like, how we should and can approach him with purpose and intent. This is how we come to him and receive the healing and the grace and the love and the everlasting life that he gives to us. So, that's all for week 22. I will see you all next week. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.